Live now, is that right?
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well.
We got a lot of people just hopped on here, Lamar. So let us know in the chat where you're listening in from. I want to see who has the nicest weather today because I know it's not going to be me. It is probably 38 and rainy right now. So let us know where you're listening in from. Lamar, we'll get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. We got, how do I say that name? Is it Diane? I don't want to be butchering it here. LA. We got Kai in Orange County. This is, you know what? This was not a good idea, Lamar, because everyone is making me jealous because they're all in way better
You
places than
didn't
me.
set the bar very high,
No, I
so
did not. Costa Mesa. Oh my God, it gets getting worse. I'm so jealous. Where are you today?
I'm in our beautiful headquarters here in Orange County, California, in Garden Grove.
All right, all right. Well, I'm overdue for some sun. Actually, I'm heading down. I'm en route to Dallas on Sunday, where it's going to be swelteringly hot. So I wish I was in kind of a middle ground here. I wish I was in your neck of the woods. That's for sure.
We'll need to get you out here for a live event or something soon.
I love that. I love that. Actually, it's not that bad in Dallas. Wow. Okay. So I get in on Sunday and it's like 70 degrees, which I thought it was always hot in Texas. I was in Texas last week and it was well over 100. So I'm looking forward to some decent weather, not sweltering weather. That's good.
We were getting some pretty warm weather over the past couple of weeks here in Orange County, and we are not looking forward to what summer is going to look like. So,
Of course, of course. Well, if you're just joining us, please do let us know where you're listening in from. We've got Corona, maybe my favorite beer. We've got Anaheim, Los Angeles. We got Orange County, Costa Mesa. I was actually in Costa Mesa doing an event at the big steakhouse there, Morton Steakhouse. I'm pretty sure that was in Costa Mesa. Huntington Beach. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite places. My best friend lives in Manhattan Beach, and we always go to Huntington Beach when I'm down that way. We got Diane in LA. Let us know in LA where exactly you are. We'd like to hear about it. Well, shall we get started?
yeah, absolutely. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Cybersecurity 101. Is your business ready for the next threat? I see a lot of familiar names here with us today and then some new ones as well. We are super excited to have you here for a conversation really about how AI is changing cybersecurity and how modern cyber threats are evolving, especially as it relates to the risks that businesses face. More importantly, though, we're really wanting to focus on what you can do to stay protected. And so today's session is in partnership with Kaseya and kicks off a four-part webinar series on cybersecurity. We're fortunate to have Miles Walker here with us today. Miles is a technology and cybersecurity expert and channel development manager at Kaseya, who helps organizations and partners improve IT operations, strengthen security, and drive digital transformation. So our goal today is simple, again, to share some practical insight, raise awareness, and help you think a little bit differently about security in today's landscape. So thank you again for joining us, and with that in mind, I'll turn it on over here to Miles to get us started. So Miles, please take it away.
Thanks so much. And we will be asking some questions during the presentation. If you do feel like it, you are welcome to turn on your camera. As much as I love looking at Lamar, I would love to look at everyone listening as well. So feel free to turn on your camera if you feel like it. But yeah, we will be asking some questions in the chat. So hopefully you guys will be as thought provoking in your answers as you were when I asked you where you're based. Today, we're talking about Cybersecurity 101. Is your business ready for the next big threat? First of all, thanks so much to Twintel and the team for bringing me on. You mentioned I'm a channel development manager. A little bit about myself. I'm based in Vancouver. I would love to be based in your neck of the woods down in LA and Orange County. Uh, I don't know. I don't even know if I've told you this story, Lamar. Like we've obviously been on a lot of calls together, but did you know I was born in England?
I got that from the accent, yes.
Okay. So was born in England and I actually grew up in a small fishing village. Let me know in the chat if you actually have been to England. I want to hear about it. So yeah, let me know in the chat if you've been to England, but was born in a small fishing village. And what's so crazy is my parents actually got me out of this small fishing village because they did not want me to become what, Lamar? I'm testing you. Small fishing village, what do they not want me to become?
Oh, geez, I don't know. You're gonna have to help me out here.
They did not want me to become a fisherman.
Ah, fair.
And now I get to travel around the world talking about the latest, greatest, and scariest fishing attacks. So they tried to keep me out of the fishing game, and I got back into it. But all jokes aside, I have the opportunity to get to travel around the world. I'm on the West Coast most of my days. Occasionally I get to Texas. I was in West Texas last week. I don't know if, are you watching Landman right now?
No, not personally. No.
Okay, that is your homework. Let us know in the chat if you're watching Landman, because I was actually in Landman country last week. So I was in Midland, Lubbock, and Amarillo doing tech talks, three different tech talks in three different cities over about 600 miles. So a lot of driving and a lot of talking. Lamar, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm here with Twintel. I joined last year, and we're a managed IT provider focused on providing various IT related services to businesses. So really the focus with this webinar is on this cybersecurity aspect of it. So making sure we're keeping businesses on tip-top shape when it comes to protecting themselves online. Notice some humor here in the chat. I think Miles caught wind of that one as well. Yeah, George, I think they reeled him in.
We're getting the pun guns fired up. I like it. Well, I saw Karen in the chat ask me what's the biggest I've caught. Karen, I left England when I was 3 years old, so I didn't really start my fishing career until I got to Canada. And if anyone here has been to Vancouver, you know probably about our sushi. We invented the California roll, which is one of our claims to fame here in Vancouver, one of Anthony Bourdain's favorite cities. So I eat fish all the time. And I do a lot of fishing here, and probably the biggest I've caught here is maybe a 15 pounder. So not that big, but most of the time we're fishing for salmon or we're shrimp. We're pulling up the traps for crabs or shrimp. So that's a little bit of my fishing background. But you guys aren't here to listen to fishing. You want to hear about cybersecurity. So let's dive right in. So when we're talking about cybersecurity, every time I do a talk, whether it was the three talks I did last week, Lamar, it feels special. You're the only one I'm talking to this week. I'm doing a live webinar, but everyone has to learn a little bit about cyber hygiene and cybersecurity because this is something in our world that's not going to stop anytime soon. The genie's out of the bottle, so to speak. And I love looking at this quote because this quote really, really hits it home for me. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and a few minutes of a cyber incident to ruin it. This is so true nowadays because cyber incidents are happening more and more, and they're not just happening against the large companies. They're not just happening against the Coca-Colas and the Intels of the world. They've hit these large scale enterprises in the past. Now they're going after small and medium sized businesses. And Lamar, I'm going to test your skills here. I want to see how smart you are. So cyber crimes is a GDP. America has the largest GDP on earth at 29 trillion. You can see China's second there at 19 trillion. Canada there, where I'm living right now, at 2 trillion. Michelle, thank you so much for hopping on. We get to see your lovely face. I love it. I do a lot of webinars, and the thing I love more than anything is seeing people's faces. So thank you for doing that. Um, and you know what, Lamar, after I get your answer, we're going to hit up Michelle and see what she thinks. What do you think the number is for cyber crimes? Now, giving you some info, it's between 19 trillion and 2 trillion. Where are you at?
Oh gosh. Uh, Geez, I don't know. I would have to guess maybe 7 trillion?
Okay. Michelle, maybe throw up a number with your fingers. You can throw it up in the chat if you want to. And everyone else in the chat. I was actually just thinking about this. I wonder if people are Googling this or chat GPTing it right now. Um, there's a lot of different numbers on there. Michelle, what do we got? 13 trillion. Okay. So the number is, this is where Lamar, if you had planned and you had a drum roll for me, we would do a nice little drum roll here. We're going to go with the next slide. That's going to be my drum roll. We got Jeff there, jumped in with 5.2 billion. Love that. So the number is 10.5 trillion.
Wow.
This is where if you were listening, you would scream and you would run away from the computer right now, but I know everybody here is a business professional, so we're going to act good about this. But this is pretty scary. So this is the number that we had from a lot of different reports by the end of 2025. And we're obviously into 2026 right now. And this is where we're at. And what's so scary about this? I started 6 years ago in the cybersecurity space. And when I first started, most of the attacks Lamar, take a guess. Who were most of the attacks against? What size businesses when I started 6 years ago?
I would think enterprise level.
You nailed it. So most of these attacks were against big business, large scale enterprises, often several thousand people. And why they were attacking them? They had the most money. And now that's completely pivoted. So almost 3/4 of the attacks now are going after small and medium sized businesses. And, all the listeners out there, you might think, well, we're a small company. I'm going to tell you a horrendous story. And it's quite funny because it is my uncle's birthday today. I want to say he's 64 or 65. I can't remember. He works for a carpet company up here in Vancouver. Small company, less than 30 employees, and they got hit by a cyber attack last year. Lamar, guess who's the first person he called when this attack happened?
I would hope you.
Yes. And I got 3 of these calls last year. My buddy who has a property management company, another buddy who does marketing for mining companies, and my uncle. They always call me. It's usually the middle of the night, and I don't answer because my phone is on silent. And the next day I wake up to 4 or 5 missed calls and several texts. And it's always the same thing. We weren't taking cybersecurity seriously. We got hit by a cyber attack. My uncle's carpet company, they had the owner's daughter doing all of the cybersecurity because she did one course at a local community college. And they always call me and they say, "Can you help?" And I said, "Listen, I'm not the guy who negotiates with terrorists. I don't go in after the fact and try to pay off these criminals in Bitcoin. We give solutions before, and solutions that you can use to mitigate that risk, or if you're attacked, that Lamar and his team can get you back up and running quickly. But we don't go in and negotiate with terrorists. That's not part of our job." And every one of these incidents, the average downtime was anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks. And I always say, if you can weather that storm, okay, but you shouldn't have to do that. And if you have, cyber tools in place, that won't happen. All right, let's get everyone's skills here who's listening. We got a lot of people online. Let us know in the chat what you think the number is. So where does America rank in the world for cyber attacks? Give me a number between 1 and 10. I want to hear about it. I got Jeff saying America's number 1. Jeff, this is something where you do not want to be number 1. Dayan, I don't know if I'm saying that right, number 1. Lamar, number 1. Paula, number 1. Mario, number 1. Michelle, number 1. Jeff threw in number 4. And Josh threw in number 3. George, number 1. Lamar, what do you think? Are you guys the worst or the best?
I think that we may have to take the worst on this one.
Okay. So, survey says second worst. Okay. So, I'm just sandwiched in right between the US. So, the country of my birth is the worst. The country where I live is third. So, the US is number 2. And, there's so much stats out there, but I want to pick 2 of these stats, which is crazy. And Lamar, hopefully your eyes get really wide when I tell you this. Companies on average take 277 days to identify and respond to an attack.
Scary.
That's scary. And of course, probably the other scary part about this, cyber crimes grew by 40% this past year. So what does that mean? The mom and pop shops are getting hit. The small companies are getting hit. And any clue why they're going after small and medium-sized business these days?
Well, from my experience, a lot of organizations are just not prepared. They don't think about it until it is a problem.
Yes. And the second they hear it's a problem, they start going, well, we should throw money at this. And it's obviously a little bit too late. They're obviously going after companies as well that don't have, a cybersecurity plan in place. They don't have cyber hygiene in place. Let me know in the chat. I love to hear this. And I know a bunch of you probably work with Lamar, but let me know in the chat if you know who to call if a cyber attack happens. Just say, yes, I know, maybe with a 1 if you know, and 2 if you don't know who to call. This is always an interesting question to ask because this is so terrifying. Maybe it is. You're going to be calling Lamar right away, right? Or maybe it's going to be calling your MSP, or maybe you're calling your dad. But a lot of people, I love getting a crowd that likes to throw answers because I'm a guy who loves comedy. And yeah, Ghostbusters is a great call. But you know what? If there's something strange and it don't look good, they probably won't be able to help you. Look, we call IT. I love that. So a lot of people on here are quite smart. Everyone's got those admin rights by default. To go on what Jeff says, everyone's got those admin rights by default. We often work in a zero trust environment, and we talk a lot about zero trust, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But one thing with zero trust, not everybody should have the keys to the kingdom. There should be specific people that know what to do, how to lock down the systems, because when these attack happens, there's nothing worse than having someone who's not prepared or not skilled in that environment. All right, let's keep going. So, top secret. I mentioned earlier that I was down in Costa Mesa at the Morton Steakhouse last year. I did an event with about 50 different IT managers from law firms all over Orange County and LA. And I like to say I was the warm-up act for the FBI because I spoke first and the FBI spoke second. And I ended up sitting down at lunch, having a great steak with one of the FBI directors who was there. And we just chopped it up. We had a great talk. And this slide really hit home for me. This was one of his slides. And I said, can I borrow this? And he said, go for it. He's like, the FBI wants more people learning about what we're talking about. And he took this picture on the left-hand side. Lamar, have you been to Istanbul?
I have. I was there just about a year ago.
Let us know in the chat if you've been to Istanbul. I want to say, I think I've been 5 or 6 times. I would say arguably top 5 favorite city for me. Top 3 for food. I'd say Bangkok and Istanbul, top 3 for food. And then, of course, there's about 3 or 4 different cities in Italy that I would say would be up there too. But let us know if you've been to Istanbul. Someone says nope, but they don't have a lot of cats. I don't know
they
what
do have a
that
lot of
means.
cats. They do have a lot of cats.
Because there's a lot of cats in Istanbul. Josh says he's only been to Constantinople. I don't know if he's joking or not, but I love it. So this picture was taken in where, Lamar? You've been there.
It looks like the Grand Bazaar, or maybe it's the Blue Mosque. Well, the bottom one maybe looks like the Blue Mosque, but I could be wrong.
Blue Mosque, you're correct. So this was taken 19 years apart. And what's so cool about it, it shows, this shows in a nutshell why attacks are happening. At the top, people had phones. Were they smartphones? No. Now everyone has a phone. Everyone's taking pictures. Everyone's connected to the internet. And by the end of 2025, we had 50 billion devices connected, which I think is so crazy. And probably back in 2005, I know I didn't have internet. When did you get internet on your phone, Lamar?
Oh, geez. Yeah, it'd have to be like in high school, I think, was when the first time I got a smartphone. So
Okay.
2009.
Okay, so I know I was late to the game. I held off. I had one of those little dongles that I would use when I was going and doing my work, and I didn't get my BlackBerry. I want to say it was the end of 2010. So you were a year ahead of me. And I was like, this isn't something that's going to catch on. I don't know if people want to be able to get emails on their phones. I had no clue. I could not see the mountain behind the trees, so to speak, because I had no clue it was going to turn into everybody had a smartphone. Everyone had the power of a computer in their hands at all times. And so what this shows, we're more connected than ever. And what that means, there's more software, it's more complicated, and more code means more vulnerabilities. And the attacks, of course, are increasing. And now with AI, we're making it even easier for the cyber criminals to attack. And I want to hear from everybody listening in. The number one concern for small businesses. This is from a cybersecurity standpoint. So let me know in the chat if you have any clue what this is. It's something that cyber criminals do to businesses all over the world. And I see someone put in AI. That's a granular answer, but I want to hear the actual example of what it is. I got social engineering. Jeff, you are on the right track. Anybody else? So this has been the number one threat vector for 5 straight years, hacking into personal info. That's great. But how do those hacking start? I know Michelle and Mario have some great answers there. And how do those start? Through phishing attacks. So phishing is still the number one threat vector that cyber criminals use to attack us. Some people say 80%, some people say 90% of all attacks start with some type of phishing email, which is really scary. And when we're talking about phishing attacks, I always love to bring in the media to play. because we went from this. I obviously had to bring in a little LA Times for everybody who's in LA, but we used to get the odd story that would come out in the news. Malware attack, cyber crimes were hitting all targets. Now, nobody's reading newspapers anymore. Everything's online. So Amazon confirms a 5-year-long Russian cyber attack. Jaguar Land Rover's workers' payroll data stolen in cyber attack. These are coming up multiple times per day. The newspapers wouldn't have enough paper to print all the cyber attacks that are happening each day, which is really scary because this is something that is here and it's here to stay. I've got a little video here. We're going to try and play it. Hopefully everyone's sound is on and you can hear this. Let's give it a go.
Okay, is that an amazing deal? Is it real or is it just a scam? With holiday shopping ramping up, AI-generated scams are making it a lot easier for criminals to steal your personal information. And with more on the latest fraud trends, let's bring in Consumer Matters reporter Ann Drua. Ann?
Thanks, Chris. Cybersecurity experts we spoke with say right now they are seeing an explosion of convincing online scams focused around the holiday shopping season. With artificial intelligence, it's hard to know what is real and what isn't. According to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Agency, the total amount lost to fraud in general so far this year is $544 million. In 2024, the total loss was $645 million. That's just the reported cases, meaning that number is far, far higher. With AI, scammers can impersonate celebrities, clone voices, and create fake retail websites. The goal is to get the unsuspecting victim to either click on a malicious link, purchase from a fraudulent retailer, or get the victim to change their password so the cyber criminal can steal your personal credentials. AI is also generating fake delivery notifications, especially at this time of year. Often they reference a company you may have received shipments from in the past and contain a fraudulent link. In some cases, cyber experts warn they may even reference a purchase you made through social media or online. And speaking of social media, purchasing anything on platforms like Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram should be used with caution, which are often hotbeds for cyber criminals to attack users.
We're at the stage where people do have to second guess a lot of the emails they get, a lot of the text messages they get, a lot of the links they get, and even the ads they see. With AI and deep fakes being so prevalent in our world, we often can't trust the eye test anymore, and we have to go that next step to see if something is real or if something's fake. Go to the main website. That is my biggest piece of advice. If it pops up in an ad or a link, don't believe it. Take everything with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak. Go to the actual website and see if the same deals are there, because often those ads are not real.
Good advice indeed. And again, security experts tell us the biggest thing cyber criminals are.
All right.
Okay, is that an amazing deal?
So I'm going to stop it right there. I'm Lamar, was it choppy for you? Because I know it was super choppy for me.
It was a little choppy, but I think the message came through clearly.
So this was something I did. I do a lot of spots for the big TV station here, which is called Global News. It's not as big as CNN or Fox down in the US, but I think there's a viewership of 6 to 8 million people in Canada. And I've been doing more and more of these spots. Why am I doing them? Because these are stories that the news wants to talk about. Often they're targeting the old and the young. That was a holiday scam warning, which we did just before Christmas. I recently did one 2 weeks ago about the cyber attacks that are happening now during tax season. So tax season is, we like to call it phishing season here in the cybersecurity world, because cyber criminals really ramp up their attacks. And one thing we're actually seeing nowadays, more than we did in the past, you can believe this, the cyber criminals would send fake emails before you're doing your taxes. But now what they're doing is they're actually following up after. So because of all the breached info they can find on the dark web, they're actually logging in, they're actually getting that information. So they might actually be able to give you a piece of info that they have from a past year's tax return and say, hey, we noticed this happened on your tax return, and we need to get you some money. And these scams are happening more and more. Okay, this is my favorite slide of the bunch. If everyone is listening, please take a screen grab or use your camera and take a photo of this, because this is where I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. And when I say a little bit of homework, this is the fun type of homework. So Lamar, we're going to start with you. Have you seen the movie War Games?
I have not seen War Games.
Have you
I
seen
think
Hackers?
I've seen Hackers, I've seen Zero Day, but I think that's it.
Okay, and I want everyone chiming in which one is your favorite in the chat. So please let me know which one of these is your favorite. Sneakers, rest in peace, Robert Redford, one of my favorite actors. And then Enemy of the State. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Okay, so we'll start with those four. So Enemy of the State came out my last year in high school, and when it came out, everything about Enemy of the State. Let me know in the chat if you've seen Enemy of the State, because it's one of my favorites. And Enemy of the State came out. It was before Will Smith was slapping people when he was one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. He just finished Fresh Prince of Bel-Air a few years earlier. And what we were seeing with Will Smith and Gene Hackman, we were seeing facial recognition technology. We were seeing drone technology. And probably the big takeaway, everything I watched in that movie seemed like there is no way the stuff we're seeing in this movie will happen in our lifetime. And within how many years? 5 years, everything we saw there was mainstream. Lamar, you probably don't remember this, but I remember when drones came out. Guess what the average cost of a drone was?
Oh gosh, I have no clue. Genuinely.
Between 4 and 7 grand. And
Wow.
how many of my friends broke a $4,000 drone because they flew it stupidly? And now you can buy a drone for $30. I know I bought one for my son, and they're so cheap. And what I'm getting at is everything we saw in that movie, we thought there's no way this is going to come true. So let me know in the chat if you've watched The Capture. Lamar, which one did you say? You said you've seen Zero Day. Is that it?
I've seen Zero Day and Hackers.
Okay. So The Capture, all about deepfake scams. And deepfake scams are something we're not going to be seeing in small and medium-sized business yet, but it will come into play. I'm just reading what George has said here in the chat. Jason Bourne type movies, even AI and mass surveillance. George, you're bang on. The James Bond movie, the second or two James Bond movies ago, was all about cybercrime. So this is going to be a big theme going forward. The Undeclared War was all about nation state attacks. And this is so relevant with what's going on in the Middle East with, the war in Iran right now. But watching these shows will give you those skills, will give you that knowledge that you probably don't have before about where we're going in the world. The Morning Show, I'm guessing a few people here have seen The Morning Show. Season 3, spoiler alert, was all about cyber attacks on large scale news enterprises. I know a bunch of people have said in the chat they've seen The Beekeeper. This is required watching if you have a parent who's over the age of 60, or if you have kids who are, in voting age. The Beekeeper, so well done. Leave the World Behind, a lot about nation state attacks. I know that movie was #1 in 17 countries, and it looked like no way this will ever happen here in America or here in Canada. And then, of course, Zero Day attacks. So previously, unseen attacks that are affecting our world. Robert De Niro is incredible in this, but this is what I always say is something that everyone should be watching to see what's on the horizon kind of moving forward. All right. Here's a couple attacks. I always tell a story or two. Lamar, have you heard about any of these attacks? Some of them are very rare. You probably never heard of them. Some of them are a little bit more mainstream.
Just the Ticketmaster one.
So Ticketmaster, one of the largest attacks that happened last year, 700 million accounts got breached. If there's any Radiohead fans listening in, Radiohead had 2 albums ago, they had their album fully leaked because they wouldn't pay the ransom fine to their ransomware attack that happened on their album. The Omni Hotel breach, this was a crazy one. I was actually in Nashville there for a cybersecurity conference. I arrived in, there was 3,000 cybersecurity professionals at this conference. The day we arrived in, the Omni Hotel had been hit with a cyber attack. What did that mean? You could not use your credit card. Okay. So to even check into a room, their systems were down. They wouldn't even give you keys to the room. So they had a person on each floor who would walk you to your room with a master key card and let you into your room. I funnily tell this joke, but it's very serious when you hear it, which is I was walking back with one of my coworkers, my buddy Brian, and he was calling his wife. He was saying, "Hey, honey, it's Miles and I. We're walking back to our room. We had had a couple adult beverages that night. and we couldn't actually drink or have beers or wine with our clients on the hotel because they wouldn't accept credit cards because all the systems were down. So we had gone out that night. We were walking back to the hotel. He said, "Hey, I'm going back with Miles. We've got an escort and we're going back to the room." I quickly realized that is not the terminology you ever want to say to your wife, because all jokes aside, we had someone who was walking us back to our room. And what's so crazy, these attacks affected so much more than just the people who were staying there. I know for me, I was thinking, wow, Omni doesn't take cybersecurity seriously. We're going to tell you one other story. This is about Las Vegas, the plastic surgery clinic that got hacked. Lamar, have you ever had plastic surgery?
No, but I think I may need it soon.
Love it. Love that answer. I have never had it. Obviously, let me know in the chat if you've had plastic surgery, all jokes aside. But this one's a crazy one. So they hacked a plastic surgery clinic, okay? They said they wanted a $100,000 ransom, and that plastic surgery clinic decided to do what? Any guesses?
Tell me.
They did not pay. And they said, we're not giving you money. So what did that plastic surgery clinic have happen to them? This will leave everybody shocked, hopefully. I know there's probably a very even mix of men and women on this call. They leaked all the before and after photos of the women's photos from their breast augmentation surgery. And what's so crazy, this happened in Vegas. Now there's a huge class action lawsuit. This plastic surgery clinic will never operate again in the state of Nevada. I don't know if they'll ever be able to operate again. They didn't do anything malicious. They just didn't pay the cyber criminals, and their business is completely ruined. And it's so scary that these things are now affecting people that would not normally be affected. You go in for a surgery, a minor surgery, you never expect that your photos or post-op photos will be leaked, and this is happening now. All right, moving along. So what are we tracking for 2026? I mentioned the rise of deep fakes for one, and deep fakes are something that we see happening all the time. They're not hitting small and medium-sized businesses right now. They're just hitting large-scale enterprises. Lamar, what do these guys all have in common? Barack, Tom, Morgan, and Jerry.
All public figures of some sort.
They all have slightly bigger bank accounts than you, so I've been told.
Yeah.
They're slightly more famous than you as well. But I'm going to throw in a little video. It's going to be a little choppy because I think with all the bandwidth here, it's hard. But I'm just going to give you a little taste. I'm going to stop it halfway through.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive?
So I'm going to stop it there because I know it's choppy, but if everybody who's listening, Google or put into YouTube Morgan Freeman deep fake, it will blow your mind how real it looks, from the voice to just the way he speaks. And this is what we're getting with deep fakes. And when I say deep fakes are something that we're already seeing play out in large scale enterprises. So what is a deep fake? It's a combination of deep learning and fake media. And I don't know if you heard this story, but recently in Hong Kong, a large multinational bank was attacked. And in this attack, the controller who was asked to wire money actually hopped onto a Zoom call with, get this, 3 of his coworkers. And those 3 coworkers had all been deep faked. And he ended up wiring $25 million. That is obviously a unique case, but this is happening more and more. And when the cyber criminals realize that there's tools or policies in place with the large scale enterprise, they'll start attacking medium-sized businesses next, then small scale businesses. So this is something that everyone's gonna have to look out for over the next year or two. This one is pretty crazy. The Ferrari attack happened against their CEO. So this attack happened recently where Ferrari was hit with a cyber attack and they were deep faked. They deep faked the CEO and the CEO fell for it. So these are just an example of few attacks that have happened, but these hacks will happen more and more going forward. So that's something that everyone's gonna have to deal with. And how do we deal with that? I actually called up our chief information security officer after I read this story. And I said, Jason, how would we have handled this attack? And he said, well, we have policies in place that we don't wire large amounts of money unless three C-suite members, so CTO, CFO, CRO, actually sign off on those large scale wire transfers. So that's one way. But everyone's going to have to come up with policies in place to make sure that doesn't happen to them. And when we're talking about that, people say, well, Miles, what tools are hackers using? And as you may have guessed, ChatGPT is one of them. AI chatbots, and they all do have rules in place. So if I asked a question like create a phishing email from the CEO of CVS, they would say, I'm sorry, I can't comply with that request. Okay. But if I can get around it by saying something along the lines of, I'm a cybersecurity professional training my client how to spot fake phishing emails, show me an example. Boom, there's one right there. And these emails are getting harder and harder to spot. They are not like the old emails that we got 15 or 20 years ago from a West African prince asking to get money out of a country with spelling errors, grammar errors, etc. These emails look legit. I got one today from the Bank of America, and it looked so eerily similar to an actual Bank of America email. You know what? What was the hint? It was actually in the email. And that's how cyber criminals are doing it. They're combining spear phishing with AI technology, and they're actually training AI to do it for them. So in November, we recently had the first almost fully autonomous email hack that came through from China that was fully automated. So they're training cyber criminals. The cyber criminals are training AI to do these attacks for them. All right, Lamar, what is this picture of?
Like the genie coming out of the bottle.
Yes, genie coming out of the bottle. So the question always comes back to this. How do we combat these threats? And we have to use defensive AI. So we have to have tools in place to get away from those cyber attacks. So using defensive AI technologies that will help identify, protect, respond to security incidents. And also another thing that we always say you need to do, having a phishing solution in mind is great, because if you're not interacting with those phishing emails, if you're having AI figure out that for you, you do not want to be interacting with these fake emails, because that's what cyber criminals are trying to get you to do. And so we always say you have to fight AI with AI. So to help train your staff better, to detect vulnerabilities and unusual activity on your account, detect fraudulent websites, detect scams and scam calls, and to monitor the dark web for breach passwords. Would love to know in the chat if you guys are doing all these things. If you're not, I love that you're on this call, because Lamar can help you with those things. And lastly, I have to dive into a little bit about our security lineup. We've got about 40 different solutions under our umbrella, and I'll start with security awareness training. This one is something that's so key. Let me know in the chat if you're doing security awareness training right now. Would love to hear about that. I always say that if you do security awareness training for a year, you're 70% less likely to be attacked by cyber criminals, because you know what you're looking for. Whether that's doing phishing simulations, there is nothing better that you can do for your company than fail a phishing simulation, because that means you're actually looking at these emails. And you know what? Hopefully, after you failed it once, the next time you're going to pass it, because I say it's better to fail with us than to obviously fail with a cyber criminal. Also, let me know in the chat if you're doing dark web monitoring. I saw Karen just hopped on. Thank you for hopping on. Let's see that lovely face again. It's nice to see some familiar faces on here. But dark web monitoring is something that I say everybody should be doing. You need to know if your credentials are on the dark web. It's a scary thing to see that your credentials are on the dark web, but that means you might be able to change that password before a cyber criminal finds it. When we're talking about AI-powered phishing defense, this is something that most companies are starting to implement. If you're not, once again, talk to Lamar. Inky is one of the most powerful AI-powered email security defense tools on the market. A lot of medium-sized companies have managed detection and response, often known as MDR. And then, of course, pen testing. Pen testing is something that companies are now doing a lot more, which they didn't used to do in the past. If you know what movie this is, please throw it in the chat. Lamar, here's some more homework for you. you need to watch Jerry Maguire if you have not watched it yet. It is one of my favorite movies. You're not going to only just hear about sports, you're going to hear about selling, about business. One of my favorite movies from the 90s. But all jokes aside, pen testing is something that a lot of companies are doing now. And what pen testing is hacking your business to see if you're hackable. I've got 2 more slides, then we're going to go to some Q&A. I want to thank everybody for listening in, because these days, it's not a question of if an attack happens, it's when an attack happens and how you move on from that attack. All businesses are at the stage now where they can get attacked. It's just, how do you move on from that attack when you do? And all jokes aside, we talk to the experts here. Working in cyber security is not stressful at all. I always say that. This is what I look like in the morning when I wake up, and this is what I look like in the evening. Cybersecurity is stressful, and that's why you're here. You guys want to learn. You want Lamar and his team to help you, and maybe you have some questions. I've talked a lot. Let's jump into some Q&A if we have any. Lamar, do we have any questions that have come through in the chat or the direct messages to you?
Yeah, it doesn't. I did get a couple of direct messages. I don't see any in the Q&A. Please feel free to send over any questions that you guys may have. We did receive.
Okay.
If we don't know where to start, what is the best place to start? I'm assuming, where is the best place to start? So,
okay,
Miles,
maybe
you
I'll
wanna
hop
answer
in on
one?
this one. I always say it has to be security awareness training. Every company now, I would say about 50% of companies are doing security awareness training. And let me know in the chat if you're doing security awareness training once a year, twice a year, 6 times a year, or every month. I'd love to hear about it. Because when it comes to security awareness training, you can't just do 1 test a year and then hope you're good. You need to be doing this constantly. I like to say every month, because you need to see what the latest and scariest threats are and how these emails look, and you need to practice on them. You don't become good at hitting a baseball or shooting a basketball without practicing. You're not going to become good at looking or recognizing a phishing email without practicing. So that's where I'd start. I just got a question came in on the chat here. Why don't we hop in there? How can small organizations deal with deep fakes? Jeff, great question. I think the biggest thing you need to do is learn what deep fakes are. They have to sit in on webinars. They have to do security awareness training. Now, security awareness training has deep fakes built into their systems. And if they're not knowledgeable about what deep fakes are, you have to have a policy in place, whether that's, how you wire money out, whether that's for your financial team. If they get an email from who they think is the boss and something sounds a little bit fishy, pardon the pun, they have to look at that email. I know I actually sat in an office when my boss got a fake phishing email about paying out for Amazon gift cards. This was a couple years ago, but it was shocking because he said, oh no, this is not good. Because he got the email, and the email had also been sent out to members of the finance team. So talking to your team members is key, but doing security awareness is even more key. Lamar, any other questions?
Yeah, great point. Just to add on that, just have some additional checks in place. A lot of times those requests feel very rushed and they want you to act on it right away. So just putting in some additional verification steps, whether that means physically walking over to their office to confirm whether that request was actually legitimate, can really do wonders, not just with deepfakes, but a variety of different attacks. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and anything to do with money that seems out of the normal, double check. I could tell you so many stories. I think people were talking about impersonation earlier in the chat. And if something seems weird, you have to double and triple check, because right now, maybe you don't have policies in place, but you do not want to be the one who costs your company 10, 20, 30, or $100,000 because you wire money to the wrong company. And they often use time frames. They say, we need to do this today. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to be the one who's the reason why the company goes out of business.
Yeah, great point. Just slowing things down. Another question that came in, what is the single most scary threat? Miles, you want to maybe take this one as well?
Sure. I'll go with the easy one, which is phishing attacks. Ransomware attacks they're often brought to the businesses through a phishing email, but phishing attacks are happening more and more. That's why bringing it back to security awareness training, you need to see what these phishing email looks like. I've got 2 this past week. I'm assuming they're from our company because I could tell they were a scam, but they could be through other companies. And what they're trying to get me to do, click on a link, give credentials, give information. Often they're saying, your Amazon account is out of date. You need to put in a new password. If you're ever having to enter a new password, look at it and double check on everything.
Yeah, great point. Awesome. Well, hey, before we wrap up today, just want to say thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. As we've discussed, cyber threats are changing really quickly, and conversations like this, I think, really are about staying informed and proactive. It's not really to make you guys fearful, but just stay prepared. And if you're interested in maybe reviewing how these risks can apply to your organization specifically, feel free to reach out to the Twintel team. We're always here to assist however we can and discuss in further detail and answer any questions that may have come up during today's session. So thank you again for joining us, and we hope to connect with you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.